Given that a is bigger than b and b is bigger than 0, and the a and b satisfy the equation log a minus log b equals log of a minus b. And part A says we need to show that a equals b squared over b minus 1, and that's for 3 marks. So looking at this equation, we need to think about if there's anything we can do. And look at this left-hand side, we can see this is actually part of a log law. So using, and we know that log a minus log b equals log of a over b. So we can replace this whole left-hand side of the equation with log of a over b. So doing that, we get log a over b equals log of a minus b. And now because we've just got a single log on each side, so we've got log of something equals log of something, we can then equate both the parts. So we can now say that a over b equals a minus b. Now just an example, if up here we had, for example, a plus 8 here, we couldn't do this because we wouldn't just have a single log something on each side. We'd have an extra term here. But the fact that, as you can see here, we've just got log of something and log of something, that must mean that it follows that this is equivalent to this. So we can just write a over b equals a minus b. So then next, to get rid of the fraction, I'm going to multiply both sides by b, giving us that a equals ab minus b squared. Now we want to get all the a's on one side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, so firstly actually I'm going to add b squared to both sides. So we get b squared plus a equals ab. Then I'm going to take away a from both sides to get b squared equals ab minus a. And this now means we can factorize out the a. So doing that, we're going to get b squared equals a multiplied by b minus 1. So now lastly what we can do is if we divide both sides by b minus 1, we'll get that a equals b squared all over b minus 1 as needed. And that's everything we need to do to answer part A. And look at the mark scheme to see where we get the marks. We get the first mark up here, so for stating that log a minus log b is log of a over b, and using that fact. We get another mark here for this bit of working, so going from this down to having b squared equals and all the a's on one side. And then we get the final mark for this working here, so factorising out the a and then dividing by the b minus 1, getting a equals b squared over b minus 1. So now part B says we need to write down the full restriction on the value of b, explaining the reason for this restriction, and this is for 2 marks. So we need to have a think about what restrictions there could be on this. Well, the first thing is that we can't divide by 0, so we know that b minus 1 can equal 0, therefore b can't equal 1, because then we'd be divided by 0, which isn't defined. So that's a good start. It also says up here in the question that a is bigger than b, which is bigger than 0. So actually we could use that because we know what a is. A is defined as this. So since a is bigger than 0, we know that b squared over b minus 1 must be bigger than 0. So the thing to notice with this is that we've actually got b squared on the numerator. And if you're squaring something, it's always going to be positive. So we know the numerator will always be positive. And since we know this whole fraction is always going to need to be positive because it's always going to be bigger than 0, we know therefore b minus 1 must be positive. Because a positive, which we know the numerator is always positive, over a negative. So if b minus 1 was negative or less than 0, well, that's going to be less than 0. That's going to be negative because a positive divided by a negative is always negative. So we can write that b minus 1 must be positive or bigger than 0. Therefore, b must be bigger than 1. And that's our final answer. And we see this work we did up here, working out that b can't be 1, is really good. However, we don't need to worry about that because we've now got this restriction that b has to be bigger than 1. So just look at this restriction. It could never be 1. So we don't need to worry about the fact that b can't be 1. We can just stick with this single restriction. We get the second mark for our explanation of this. So this right here is our explanation of why b must be bigger than 1.